Well, good afternoon. I am just going to give this a few seconds to allow all of our attendees to join from the waiting room and get through into the live session. I can see that we've got people joining now. That's really great. Lovely to see you this afternoon. Right, great. I think we've got people joining in safely. That's fine. So let's make a start. Welcome to this afternoon's webinar. From EcoPed in conjunction with our colleagues at Formwire's washrooms today. Today talking about washroom design and water management for COVID safety, overall hygiene and indeed cost reduction. So a few kind of housekeeping points before we get started. You will see that we are recording the session. That's so that once we're done here, we can process that and send you an email out with a link to watch that back and to share it with any colleagues if you would like to. There'll also be an opportunity in that email so that you can download the slides, so any materials or links and so on that we're sharing today, you will have access to those after the session is finished. You'll notice as you join that your lines are all muted, so hopefully you can hear us, but we can't hear you. So you can't ask us questions verbally, but we do please encourage questions. You'll notice at the bottom of your Zoom control panel, if you hover your mouse at the bottom, there's a Q&A function and there's a chat function. You can send questions through to us in either of those. We'll answer some of them in the background while we're going through, but we will allow some time at the end of the presentation so that I can ask those questions of our presenters today, and we can have a little bit of a kind of Q&A discussion. So the agenda that you will have seen through your invitation and so on is just a few introductions, talking about EcoPed and talking about Formwire. We're going to talk about the role of washroom design in ensuring user safety, talk about some of the key considerations when you're designing washrooms, talk about some advice for the key considerations in the washroom, and also talk about how washroom design influences not over hygiene, but also has the opportunity to cut water use, create efficiencies and reduce cost and so on. And then, as I said, we'll open up for some of those questions. So introductions, we've got three of us on the line today. My name's Rachel Clinton. I'm on the business development team here at EcoPed. My two colleagues, I've got Marcus Rose, who's the MD at EcoPed, and I've got our good friend Tim Jupp from Formwire Washrooms, who you'll be hearing from both of them today. So at this point, Marcus, if I send it to you.
Thank you, Rachel. And afternoon to everyone in the audience who've joined us today. Before we start going into the presentation, I'd just like to give everyone a bit of background about EcoPed. As you can see, the actual name means ecological or economical product. The beginnings of this evolved during 2006, when I could see a need to address the issues of water and energy saving in commercial washrooms. Back then, we'd come through some pretty dry periods of rainfall, especially in London and the southeast, and I could see the need to address this. And I thought one of the key areas that this could be done quickly and effectively was in the commercial washroom. And just to explain, I am a mechanical engineer of 30+ years experience. At EcoPed, we develop a consultative approach to sales whereby we engage with our clients and prospects to understand their needs and wants, just like the team do at Formwire. This is backed up by technical knowledge, and we gear this around how to deliver best practice solutions within the washroom environment. Water saving, as you can see, is our passion, where we aim to achieve a return on investment timeline through projected savings achieved. And coupled with this is reduction in reactive maintenance. That's another key factor for the commercial washroom space. We work very closely with high quality product brands we represent here exclusively in the UK, and we are often selected by them for new product development. So the purpose of this webinar is to convey that we need to look seriously at our washroom environments. Along with that, we need to also understand responsibilities upon us for water management, quality, water control. think of the environment we now find ourselves engulfed in. I think we'd all admit that we need to start looking at these requirements, because quite simply, I think we have a moral obligation to do so. So this is exactly why we put together the webinar today, to show how smart washroom technologies not only meet the demands of the 2021 washroom expectation, but also reduce water usage, maintain high levels of hygiene, that's both personal and within services, plus make our washroom sustainable on all fronts. We've been working in collaboration for some time now with Formwire washrooms, and now it's my pleasure to introduce Tim Jupp, the Technical Director, who's going to give us some company background and experience. So Tim, over to you.
Thank you, Marcus. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my first time doing a webinar, so you just bear with me in case I sort of go wrong in anything. But my name's Tim Jupp, and I'm a co-owner of Formwire washrooms. Formwire washrooms was started in 2008, but I've actually been involved in manufacturing toilet cubicles since 1988. Over that time, there's been many, many changes, obviously none more so than the last year. Formwire washrooms manufactures WC cubicles, vanity units, duct panels to any area that requires a washroom, whether that be a school, an office, a college, hospital, anywhere like that. So our experience across all sectors is very, very, very vast. And the type of projects we get involved in could be a single toilet cubicle for the local pub, up to offices in London, sports stadia. Some of the jobs we've recently completed was the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where we supplied all of the toilet cubicles, the vanities and duct panels, right the way from spectators through to director level. And we've also just completed a big bank in Canary Wharf. With regards to washrooms in the COVID era, we're finding lots and lots and lots of inquiries about how to make the washrooms safe and different from before. Now, generally in toilet areas, people don't like to touch things anyway. Even before COVID, it was always people didn't like to open doors or indicator bolts and things like that. So over the last sort of few years, we've seen a kind of move away from a normal washroom area to areas that have sensor flow taps, making sure that soap dispensers and hand dryers and things are all sensor driven, and behind mirrors we find a big thing. The thing that most people worry about is turning an indicator bolt on a toilet cubicle, because there's no way that can be done without the use of hands. And we always try and address this, that there are paints available that we can apply to the back of the indicator bolt that have antibacterial properties in them. But generally, people will then wash their hands after exiting the toilet cubicle. So the need for an antibacterial indicator bolt, is it required? I think it's more of a comfort thing to people than being required. The other thing we find at the moment is dividers between men's urinals. In the past, you had a low-level divider that was there for more privacy than anything else. Now, the dividers are becoming taller and deeper to actually act as a physical barrier between people using the urinals. And that's, again, that gives a lot of people comfort. We've done it in our own toilets here at the factory, where it's now a physical barrier between the two urinals, and it's giving people comfort and making them safe. The other thing to sort of consider when looking at toilet areas is maybe having a staggered lobby, because it's all well and good people washing their hands, drying their hands, it's all touch-free, and then unfortunately they have to go and open a door to a toilet area, which people don't like. Now, you can sort of get away with that by making the doors push on exit and pull on entrance, but it's just worth something considering. If there's room for a staggered lobby, then it's probably worth looking at. As I say, we do get architects a lot of the time ring us and ask us for the answers. We're learning as much as many other people, and we just try and look ahead with Marcus and sort of say, okay, what's next? But that's probably all about Formwire. We have our own factory here in Northampton, which is ideally located for all of the country, which means that we can be responsive, and we're not waiting for other people to make our goods for us. Everything is made here in Northampton, the UK. If I pass you back to Marcus now, and he continue the slides.
Many thanks, Tim. Appreciate your input there. Quite interesting what you mentioned about staggered lobbies and then architects asking you for advice. I think that's key. But as you say, we are all learning to get together. So just to move through the rest of the webinar for the audience, this question at the top here is one that I've often asked, even back before EcoProd existed, when I was actually an installer. Form versus function. Consider what the washroom is going to be used for and whether there is priority for form or function. Know what your washrooms are going to be used for so they can be designed for that purpose. And just like Formwire, EcoProd were involved in the new Spurs Stadium. And as Tim's pointed out, that for washrooms in the corporate areas, that was form, that was image. That was a higher end finish with the niceties that go with that, albeit in keeping with the architect's design and drive. But then washrooms in the general areas, function mattered much more. And then form and function aren't mutually exclusive. You can achieve a high-end finish on a budget. And the point there is, I would say, engage with us. Engage with Formwise washrooms. Look at the budget available, and then between us we can come up with what's going to suit according to the monies available. And then Tim's touched on this earlier, managing the flow of users around the washroom. For high volumes, better to have separate entrances and exits situated as far apart as possible. Obviously, in large venues like stadia and expos, that's possible. In a lot of other areas, it's not quite so possible. But whatever is possible, try and achieve it within the parameters that you're able to work with. External signage is very critical, so that people understand the washroom has a one-way flow. Yes, we're now referring to very public places here, not so much a requirement in corporate office locations or sites and locations where the same people attend every day. But it is quite critical that people know and understand how to use the washroom environment they're going into. And as Tim's touched on earlier, use staggered lobbies rather than the doors. Consider the layout of WCs, urinals, sinks and showers, if showers are included. Make sure you don't have more than one function taking place in one area, and then make sure that people can move freely around without bumping into each other or needing to double back. And just that point at the bottom there, that was a live situation where a high footfall location created problems by more than one operation happening in exactly the same area, which they've now changed and addressed. And then think about the elements required for delivering effective washroom design. Wall-mounted taps and urinals correctly spaced apart. Make sure people don't get trapped in corners. Tim's already touched on urinal dividers. In the current period, you might have to cover off every other urinal if required. And there are actually systems available now to control the number of personnel within the washroom if this is considered a serious requirement. Signage, we're going to just touch on it again. People need clear instructions regarding what to do and how to do it. As I say, this is more for the public washroom space as opposed to areas that are being used every day by the same people. And then let people know what steps you're taking to keep them safe. I think that's quite an important point. So it comes back to the comment Tim made about comfort levels. People appreciate it and they feel looked after. And then efficient use of water, as well as explaining how to use the facility safely. One of my great colleagues and partners that we work with closely, Professor Jacob Tompkins of the Water Retail Company, he often comments to me that he goes into facilities that have got good water saving and other efficiencies in place, but they're not talking about it. They're not boasting about it. They're not explaining to the personnel using that venue what they're doing. And you'll find that people will get buy-in to what you're doing because they feel that you're providing them value. And then floor markings can be used if that's a requirement for one-way systems to be made clear. Then we're going to just go through some advice about selecting key washroom components. Hygienic wall cladding and floor finishes last longer and are easier to clean. Tim, do you want to just jump in and make a point there about that, about choosing the wall and floor finishes that go with cubicle and systems, etc.?
Yeah, sure, not a problem at all. So laminate nowadays, many of them do contain antibacterial properties, and it's probably based around the microban product that is in compact laminate. Now, it's been around for a long time. The only issue with these products is, as you probably experience of microban, it doesn't actually kill bacteria. What it does, it stops the bacteria breeding and spreading. And when it was first brought out, hospitals went mad over it. They loved it. And what they actually found was that their cleaning people, the cleaning become less regular because they felt that the products had antibacterial qualities in which case it would get rid of it. So with anything that has an antibacterial property in it, I know there are new laminates stop bacteria spreading. So firstly, I suppose is cleaning doesn't replace come out, but with hygienic wall cladding, it could be compact laminate, it could be normal thin laminate. The less joints you have with the floor, you can get away with around urinals, tends men. But again, if there's no joints on the floor tiles or floor finish around the urinals, then that's probably the best thing to do. I see Marcus put on there about solid grade laminate. Solid grade laminate, for those people that don't know what it is, lots of people know it as Trespa. Normal laminate is 1 mil thick. Solid grade laminate is generally 12 or 13 mil thick. So it has no core board. You could leave it outside in the rain for years. It will never take water in. So the same thing happens with urine and things like that. It won't penetrate the core because there is no core. So it's a lot cleaner, a lot easier to clean. It won't harbour bacteria in there.
Yeah, that's very interesting, Tim. And obviously we were making a difference between here for washrooms that have got form and function as part of their criteria and design, but it comes back to make sure you get the design right for the application. And then install floor drains if possible. I know we've got a client who is seasonal locations. Their washrooms are all fitted out with solid grade laminate. They've got floor drains during the winter period. Those washrooms are shut, and then before they open up again, they're pressure washed and deep cleaned. So there you go. You're actually providing a safe and hygienic environment for your visitors as they open up the spring and season. Showers. Just going to go on to some fixed equipment here. We represent the Conti Plus brand here in the UK. They maximise hygiene and they eliminate any opportunity for Legionella or other bacteria in your shower. Panels are 100% antibacterial. They've got built-in programmable automatic hygiene flush operation. Stainless steel finish are available on showers as well. Easy installation with self-commissioning, with a piezo on-off control with an automated off function. They've all got a water-saving feature to them, and they've all got an energy-saving feature due to a unique solenoid technology. And actually, the products can all be managed now by the Conti Plus app. So you can download all the data from those shower panels to the app on your phone. Another one favourite of mine is wall hung WCs. You'll find that your whole floor area will be maintained in much better fashion. Hygiene will be higher. It does give a more spacious feel to your cubicles. And then sensor operated flush control. This is actually becoming quite a strong request into EcoProd, because obviously if nobody's going to touch the flush plate, you've actually eliminated another touch point where hygiene control could be lost. Sensor taps, again, removes the need for users to touch the tap. We represent the Messiah brand here in the UK, which is very unique in that it has the addition of providing soap and antibacterial wash all in a touch-free operation, all out of the same product. Conti Plus sensor taps, there's quite a few in the range, but they can detect the environment in which they are operating to avoid splashing water outside the sink. and they're much more efficient in terms of use. You can't leave them on, and if there was a fault, they fail safe to close after 90 seconds. And again, they've all got the built-in Bluetooth service app capability, where you can manage all the hygiene, flush, etc. From the app on your phone. With sensor taps, you're going to get contact-free hand washing, simple in installation, and they will self-commission within 10 seconds. As I say, automatic stop, and flow rates down to as low as 1.9 litres per minute. That's very low, but you wouldn't know you were washing your hands in that small amount of water because of the laminar aerators. There's also energy saving options with green energy built into them. So a solar panel on top of the tap, which will increase the longevity of the batteries for up to as much as 8 years. And then there's a turbine version where the actual water flows through the turbine within the tap, and it produces the exact same amount of energy which is stored in a capacitor within the tap body, and flexible parameters to aid easy maintenance. And then, as Tim touched on earlier, regarding some of the laminates and finishes, etc., ensuring an effective cleaning and maintenance schedule. Keep dedicated schedule to planned maintenance and couple that with accurate reporting. And I always say, being a mechanical engineer, do this as part of a wider water strategy for your whole site, so that action on water quality can be controlled. There is the Conti Plus CNX installation, which is an intelligent water management system. It's a platform where you can actually have all your connected products within your washrooms, reporting in real-time information to a platform that can be managed from remote sites. And then we represent Aqualytics here as well, which can detect leaks before problems arise. And overall, ensure that you install low maintenance equipment in your washrooms, e.g. we've now launched the self-cleaning urinal. Use the right products for cleaning. We recommend MB Active Cleaner. Microbacterial spores are activated when they come into anything organic. They destroy it effectively without creating any odor, and it forms a permanent protective layer on the surface being cleaned. In other words, it forms a barrier, which comes back to what Tim touched on about microban. Conti Plus Oxan. This is a revolutionary new disinfectant that has been in development in Germany for 5 years. It was launched a year ago, and it's a valuable alternative to conventional disinfection methods. There are 4 different brands within the range: one for hands, tools, components, appliances and equipment, one that you can introduce to drinking water systems to kill biofilm, which creates Legionella, etc. There is another product for using in air, fogging, and that type of atmosphere, and then there is an additional product that's available for using within swimming pool filtration. So just moving on to cutting water use and costs within effective washroom design. Some water saving devices. Obviously, I'm passionate about all this, having started EcoProd all those years ago. Waterless urinals, sensor and low flow taps, low flow showers, Aqualytics smart leak detection technology, and the Conti Plus CNX water management system. If you can't afford to go to the level of the CNX system, as I say, the service app now available will produce a level of control and availability in terms of your engineers being able to set up the equipment in your washroom and manage it just from their smartphone. So next steps, talk to us about your washroom setup, talk to us about your water use and supplier, check out our water saving resources and our program of other events. There's just a screenshot there of some of the free downloads available on the EcoProd website. We've actually got a program of other webinars coming up. There's 2 very important ones that have been published for the next month, 23rd and the 25th of June. And we'd encourage you to go to the resources tab on our website and sign up to upcoming webinars. So I'd just like to hand back to Rachel to take any questions you might have.
Hello. I've got a few come in. Just a reminder, if anyone else wants to ask any questions, there's a Q&A function or the chat function at the bottom of the screen. If you hover over them, they become visible. But yes, my first question is, we've been considering sensor taps for the hygiene reasons, but you said that they save water as well. How much water?
Okay, that's a very good question. Typically, if you're going back a few years, taps would be delivering something like 10 to 12 litres per minute. Over recent years, that's been recognised to drop to 10 to 8 litres per minute, and now the recognised maximum that people will require is 6 litres per minute. Then if you take into consideration the unique biostable technology of the Conti Plus product, we are now down to 1.9 litres per minute flow rate. And you wouldn't know, as I mentioned earlier, that you're washing your hands in that amount of water because of the way it functions. And we say, as a guide, you are looking at a 70% reduction in water at your taps.
Okay, thank you. Do you need to do a full, hang on, what's the, yeah, do you need to do a full washroom refit to take advantage of these things, or can you just fiddle with what you've got?
Over to you, Tim, on that one.
Oh, we've lost him.
Have we?
Oh no, yeah, he's just dropped out.
Oh, okay. I'll answer the question.
Yeah, let's see if he gets back in time. Oh no, he's just joining back, I think.
The answer is no. Let's see if Tim comes back online.
I'm back. I do apologise about that.
Yeah, we lost you. Sorry.
Yeah, I do apologise. It clicked out for some reason. With regard to can you tinker with things? Yes, you can tinker with things. For example, if you've got 2 urinals next to each other, or a line of 3 urinals, it is possible to retrofit full height barriers, screens that will section off the urinals. It is possible to add sensor taps, take out old taps and put in sensor taps. So the answer is yes, there's always some tweaking that can be done to make the washroom area safer and nicer environment to come in. It certainly doesn't need a full refit, that's for absolute certain.
One installation we've just recently done, Tim, that you supplied just the IPS, WC IPS ducts panels for, was we left the frame in. We left the existing cubicles in because it wasn't within their budget, but you did the WC duct panels in a good wood grain finish, and even though there's a contrast in those washrooms, it still looks stunning. So yeah, the answer is yes, you can.
Yeah, and again, just to modernise a washroom, if anyone's thinking of designing a washroom, if they do want fashion colours or fashion trends, we'd always recommend that they generally get put on items that are easily replaceable. So like a cubicle door, or as Marcus said, the rear duct panels, or indeed the panels under a vanish unit. If you kept the other pieces of those quite neutral, quite something that won't date, then in future times you can just replace cubicle doors, and you can just replace IPS panels and things like that. And then again, that keeps the cost of any refurbishment down. The quality of materials nowadays that we use will last for years and years and years. So it's not a case of that they'll just wear out and you have to replace it all. You'll probably find that you're replacing washrooms more because you don't like the colours, or the colour fashions have changed, rather than products wearing out or not fit for purpose anymore.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. I've got a couple of questions about hand drying. So there was a picture in the early slides of the jet towel. In post-COVID times, what are your thoughts on air dryers with a base which kicks back contaminated water from the previous user?
It's a very interesting question because there's so many schools of opinion on this. You could go to lots of different bodies, regulators, and they all say differing things. I think it comes back to how you are, what hygiene controls you've got, what's your janitorial operation in maintaining that washroom. Because if you maintain, as Tim said earlier about microban, it comes back to the same sort of argument, and like our MB Active cleaner, it comes back to the level of hygiene you've got in place in those washrooms to make sure that equipment is kept clean.
Okay, and another one about hand drying is about touch-free paper towel dispensers. How touch-free are the touch-free paper towel dispensers that you see?
Yes, they are touch-free in that you only actually have to touch the paper. Likewise, I would just raise the question whether you should be actually using paper towels. It's another argument. Schools of opinion out there, but then it comes back to the personal selection and the use of that washroom and the personnel using it and their desires, I would say.
Okay, thank you. What are the options for dealing with aerosols from toilet flushes?
Good question. Depends on the type of WC and the amount of water that's being used to flush the WC. Obviously, infrastructure is incredibly varied throughout the UK. Some locations you can get away with very reduced WC flush volumes, and in some properties you simply can't. So you need to consider that question related to the venue and operation you're managing, if that helps answer the question.
Yeah, and I suppose with urinals, not all urinals are flushing urinals. There are waterless urinals like the ones that we sell, that so you don't have the flush issue there.
No, correct. It's totally eradicated.
Okay, I've got another one for you. What are your thoughts about improving hygiene issues with sanitary bins? The hand wave versions often stop working after a while.
Do you want to comment on that, Tim?
I can do, yeah. I mean, we get asked about sanitary bins, the providing of them. And it's one of those areas that there's people like Kimberly Clark who I think provide this service where they provide the bins in exchange for the contract to empty them and things like that. So it's something we get asked, and it's something we don't get a lot of involvement with. And again, with the hand sensors, generally they'll be battery powered because it won't be a cable tied to the bin. So again, it probably is down to maintenance where the batteries will need to be changed at regular intervals. And it would probably be best and prudent just to introduce it as part of the cleaning regime where batteries are checked periodically and go from there. And that probably will solve the issue from there.
Oh, there's some products that we are looking at taking on as well, aren't there, Marcus, in that space?
Yes, there is. Yeah, which I think probably the person that's asked that question, we could take that offline and follow up with them on some additions there. It's I'm actually quite an advocate for standing up for the ladies in this environment, in the washroom environment, and making sure they're provided for correctly and with dignity. So yeah, maybe we'll pick that one up separately offline.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. How much water can you really save? Okay. How much water can you really save, I guess, with some of these water reduced products?
Okay. We say 70% typically for taps, electronic taps, and that will apply to showers as well because you can limit the amount of water the shower uses. The additional comment I would say is that there is a correlation between water, energy and carbon. What a lot of people don't appreciate or may not appreciate is that for every cubic meter of water you're saving, that has got a carbon value to it that you can report on. Now, also, you need to remember the energy saving as well, because when you come to low flow water use, it's not only the cold water, but it's the hot water as well. And we have got testimonials of persons that have installed our products, and they've cut their energy use by 12% just because of the non-delivery of hot water. So, as I say, there is a very distinct correlation between water, energy, and carbon, which shouldn't go unnoticed.
Okay, thank you. And then I've got one more, and I think this is the last one, unless any more pop through when we're talking. Oh, hang on. What fire rating is the hygienic cladding? I guess that is for Tim.
Tim, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On the things like white rock, I honestly don't know, and I'd need to check. But something like solid grade laminate, the fire rating on that, in its natural state, it achieves a class 1 spread of flame. You can get higher rated, up to a class O spread of flame, for compact grade laminate, but it's generally special made, and it's generally seen as an overspec in a washroom environment. So that's basically the answer there, really. We don't tend to get asked too many times for fire retardant materials in a washroom environment.
Okay, thank you. So my last question is, what's the first thing that you would do if you were improving your washroom for hygiene?
You're going to answer that, Tim?
I can answer.
You can both have a go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's probably got some input from you as well. It all depends really on the budget you have. So if your budget is really limited, the easiest and probably the cheapest solution would be just increase the cleaning regime, and go from there, because people do like to. It's one of these things that nobody notices a nice washroom, but everyone notices a poor washroom. And we generally say if someone's walked in and hasn't complained about the washroom, then it's doing its job. People will complain if the washroom's dirty or smelly or just generally unclean. So if people walk into an area and if your budget is that limited and it smells fresh and it is noticeably kept clean, then that puts a lot of confidence in people to start off with. And then you can start working up the sort of scale according to budget from there, and it would sort of go from there to sort of sensor taps and sensor dryers and those sort of things. People don't like to touch things. How many times have you seen someone go into a washroom and they pull their sleeve over their hand to open the door, or things like that? So it's addressing those areas, if you like, the touched areas, would be the simplest way to start addressing the washroom area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you might want to quite a lot of the times we found, haven't we, Tim, that the floor area is quite a significant trap for bacteria and spores and areas of nasties. So you might. I know it's got an implication on other connected products like cubicle systems in there, and you're going to have to do a bit to that to get a complete continuous flooring within that washroom. But you will totally lift the whole washroom if you just do the floor and maybe change the lighting, upgrade the lighting, the existing lighting. I mean, if you've got a nice floor finish and you've upgraded the lighting and you get a good ambience and people go into that washroom and you've upped the hygiene, you've achieved that by not doing too much disturbance. Do you agree?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and you're absolutely right about the flooring. And the ladies present probably won't know this, but generally the biggest issue is around the urinal areas, and generally the bottom panel of a urinal duct, if it's not made from a durable material, will be swollen, and the flooring around it is generally is untidy, and it's just that's one of the problems is around urinals. But at the same time, I'm not suggesting you get rid of urinals, because we've had a few instances where people have got rid of urinals, replaced them all with WCs, but then of course you see your water bill go up from there, because every time a man walks away from a toilet, he'll then, hopefully every time a man walks away from a toilet, he'll flush it. Whereas a urinal, it doesn't need to be flushed. It will either be completely waterless or it will have a periodically flush. So I'm not suggesting to get rid of the urinals. They are very, very useful and are a cost saver. It's just obviously to look at the areas around it, the floor and things like that.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I've got any more come in. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much to all of our attendees this afternoon. As I said, we will get an email out to you. It'll probably be tomorrow morning, but that has the recording and the slides and so on, so that you can watch them back and share them with colleagues. We hope that we see you on one of our other sessions sometime soon. You will be on our newsletter and we'll get invitations to those. Thank you very much, Tim, for joining us and for help covering the Q&A there. And thank you, Marcus, for your presentation. Thank you.
No problem whatsoever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Rachel.